Fleet has always been a bit of a dark art in the automotive space. OEMs ebb in and out of wanting to be in the fleet business, mainly because there's discounts involved, and currently we know there are supply constraints. But both you and I and those learned people in the automotive industry know that these times of constrained supply do not last forever. And the learned individuals in the industry know that 35% of all sales go to some form of B2B or B2G entity. And doing business with B2Bs and B2Gs is very different to retail. Currently, retail is king and margins are great, but we know that that will change, and we know that supply will come back on, and we know that B2Bs and B2Gs still need to get vehicles. And these customers actually have long memories of whether they've been treated well or not. So it's important to not lose the skill of understanding how B2B and B2G works, and to make sure when that tide does turn, you are in a great position to take advantage of it. Because you need to do the groundwork now. You may not have the inventory, but you need to be having the conversations now in those B2B and B2G spaces, because the purchasing horizons in B2B and B2G are longer than retail. Retail's easy and beautiful. We love it. I see it, I like it, I buy it. My emotion is there. Okay, the prices have gone up. Emotionally, I want that vehicle. I'll take it, and I'll even wait for it. B2Bs and B2Gs, there's more involvement from a purchasing perspective, and there are more stakeholders involved in the purchase decision for that B2B and B2G. And especially now that electric vehicles are coming, there's a huge driver for B2B and B2Gs, particularly in the B2G space, where they need to have electric vehicles, and they will have the earlier adoption.
Mark, I was just going to say, I think you're making a really good point there, because the important thing is most of those fleet owners will know there's a shortage of vehicles, so you don't necessarily have to promise them delivery now, but you can map out a delivery plan with them of when you expect vehicles to come. And that can go into 6 months, 12 months, 18 months delivery plans. So at least you're starting to lock those vehicles in. So when supply does come back, you're in a good, solid position. And because you've been working with those fleet owners and keeping up to date with them, you'll be in a far better position than with companies that have not.
Absolutely. The ones that have turned the tap off, the fleets will remember, and the leasing companies will remember that. So having those conversations, even though you can't necessarily supply right now, but still being at the forefront when supply does come on, that they will embrace you first. It's very hard if you've burnt that bridge and just said, no, we're not doing fleet anymore, to then when you're desperate to go in and try to have that conversation, these people remember. It's like the jilted lover. So you jilt them and then you want to come back and take them out for dinner. Well, they're going to say, well, hang on, someone else is already providing lots of food and drink for me. So thank you, I'll go elsewhere. So it's interesting when you look at what B2B was in the past. Like traditionally, when you think of how B2B worked in the auto space, in the pre-COVID world, you had the basic tools where you had a phone, you had emails, you had social media such as LinkedIn, the professional LinkedIn, so you could work out who you wanted to target, and there were events that you would attend and meet these people. Now, these events would vary, and there's also the final one being the personal visit. We'd actually physically visit the customer and then build that trust, rapport, and relationship. So you still have a phone, you still have email, and you still have LinkedIn. So you really need to be clever with what you do with those three elements. So you think of conferences. So in the fleet space, AFMA, and there are a number of other fleet conferences that are fantastic opportunities for fleets to get educated, but also for interaction with the industry. Some brands embraced, other brands didn't. And also other leasing company events where salary packaging events and you get a cross-section of different customers learning about, well, what are the opportunities. The other thing was sporting events, corporate golf days, all these other events were important to get face-to-face and meet and have a conversation in a non-direct business one-on-one status or forum. Now those forums or those events are really good to get an understanding off the cuff. They're often fireside conversations as to what you need to do to learn about what this particular customer does, what their motives are, what their likes and dislikes are, and also for them to get to know you and trust you, because trust is what it's all about. People do business with people they trust. So it's all about how do you have quality information, but also building that trust rapport so then the communication can get through effectively. So when you think about conferences, you had new model launches, getting large numbers of fleets visiting a proving ground somewhere or a test track somewhere where you can meet and interact with them. The other thing also is with those hospitality events, like taking people to the football or running into someone whilst you're at the football because they're hosted by a competitor client or a host of a competitor to yours. So they're great events to actually build the rapport and relationship with. Yes, you're doing Zoom meetings. The Zoom meeting is an interesting adaptation to what we're used to do with a face-to-face visit. Works well for a lot of meetings for information where we know someone. But the challenge with Zoom and Teams, etc., is if I'm trying to introduce myself to you, I've got to get my foot in the door to enable you to actually connect with me in Zoom. And then once we're talking on Zoom, how are we actually going to trust each other? Now, there's lots of situations where people don't have their cameras on in a Zoom meeting. Well, you're not going to pick up any of the non-verbal cues like you would in a face-to-face meeting. Very good sales consultants would rely on that belly-to-belly, face-to-face meeting to build the rapport, build the trust, and also gather all the information that are the non-verbal information.